We're gonna go down to some schools in Arizona and then do one in Las Vegas and then back home. One thing we've had with these is it's been an opportunity to talk to schools and to see what they kind of are asking, some of the interview questions. And we've actually got this list developed from the schools that we went to. When you apply to PA school, and I'm sure you've had some of this talk, and I've talked to you before about this, but understand that your transcripts do your initial talking for you. You don't get to explain to anybody why your transcripts are the way they are. If you get an interview, you're going to want to be able to explain why they are. Does that make sense? So when you do things like explaining transcripts, you never blame a teacher, ever, 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 ever. Never blame the institution, ever, ever, ever. Why would you never blame a teacher or the institution?
Because they are teachers.
They are teachers.
That shows you can't take responsibility for yourself.
Yep, that means that if nothing goes right for you there, guess who you're gonna blame? Them, so you're out. You're automatically out. So, but when you apply and you get the interview, also remember that what's got you there is the same thing that's got everyone else there. Does that make sense? So now it's you now against, take all that stuff aside, it's now you against everybody else. You've made the first hurdle. So with that said, we're gonna go through a little bit of interview now. I need a victim. But here's what it has to be. You cannot know me. So like Sierra would not work. It would not work because I know her. I know Steve. So that automatically makes it bad. The second thing is you can't have seen this done before. That would taint the thing. All right? So with that said, you've seen it done twice?
No, I haven't seen it and I don't know yet.
Perfect, you're right.
I don't care.
You may care when this is over.
I'm in.
Okay?
Okay.
So, I'm gonna ask some questions now. Hopefully, you understand that before you go to do your interview, you're gonna want to study. Don't go to an interview cold. You're gonna wanna study, and what are you gonna wanna study? Some things particular about that particular interview. About the school. About the school and about the profession. Okay, so with that said, what's your name?
My name's Tyler.
Tyler. Tyler, we're glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate you coming. Tyler, why don't you take a minute, and my name's John Lewis. I'm the president of John's Most Ultimate Best PA School, and we're glad that you decided to apply to our school and you've made the cut, so we brought you to the first interview. So, Tyler, what I'd like you to do is take a minute and just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
A little about myself. Okay. Well, I am currently married, have a family, wife and a little girl, and it's very obvious that I am very interested in being a physician assistant, and I like to golf and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I'm not prepared.
Okay, well, so, we're sorry. All right, so, what's one thing that he said that made me a little bit curious about a statement he said?
I thought of golf.
It's obvious that I want to.
What is obvious about you that you want to be a PA? I'm looking at you thinking to myself, well, what is obvious about you? What is it, why is it obvious that you want to be a PA?
I'm sitting here at a PA interview.
So, with that said, knowing that, that seems to me a little bit of a funny thing to say.
Yeah.
All right? Family questions, introduce yourself. They can't ask you anything. They can't ask you your age, your family, your status, you're married, you're single, your religion. They can't gather any of that. You choose, you can give them as much as you want or as little as you want. Married, 3 kids, I was born here. My wife and I enjoy walks on the beach, and our boy's 3 years old, and I'm really happy to be here to have the chance to interview today. You can tell as little as much as you want, but already off the bat, I'm like, so that's the question they're gonna ask you, okay? All right, so, well, thanks for that, Tyler. I guess, fortunately, there'll be no time for golfing while you're here.
Yeah.
I hope you don't plan on doing that, but anyway. So, Tyler, what is a PA?
physician assistant, they are, it's a profession that studies, well, that practices under physician's license, and they pretty much are autonomous in what they do, diagnose, and provide treatment plans for patients. They try to meet the care using the westernized medicine model. That's pretty much my understanding of it so far.
Okay. Not too bad. A PA is an integral part of a healthcare team. A person who works with doctors and nurses to provide care, a complete care model to a patient. So what they want to know is what a PA is, and you're right about some of that stuff, but a PA is a member of a team who works together to solve problems. All right? Okay. So, Tyler, why do you want to become a PA?
I want to become PA because, well, it seems to fit what's best for my interests, and this isn't good to say, but I like to help people, and this meets some facet of my interest in helping people.
Okay. Tell me more about that fits your interest. Tell me more about that. I don't understand quite what you meant.
I've always been interested in medicine and solving problems. And this, being a physician assistant, helped meet some of those interests and desires that I have. So that's pretty much what I mean by fills my interest.
Okay, good. That's not too bad of an answer. What would be a bad answer why did you want to become a PA? What would be a bad answer?
Pays
What?
money.
One at a time.
I didn't want to become a doctor.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to say. All right, so somebody else said it, the next thing?
Good pay.
Good pay, that's not the best thing, that's a terrible answer.
Not long amount of school.
That's a horrible answer, okay? Yeah, I want to be home with my wife and family, that's not a very good answer. You've answered it pretty well in the fact that I've had a desire to help other people. A desire to give back. PAs are all about giving back, about helping. And so that's not too bad in the fact that it's not a self-centered answer. You're not doing it because I didn't get into medical school, all right? On your letters, when you write your letters to CASPA, do not mention ever that I was trying to decide between this and a doctor, I just couldn't decide the difference. Bad thing to say. PAs, it's kind of like you've just insulted every PA. All right? You either want to be a PA or you want to be a doctor, so keep that in mind, okay? All right, good. So, Tyler, what's the difference between a PA and a nurse practitioner?
From what I understand, the difference between a PA and a nurse practitioner is that a physician assistant doesn't have his own license, medical license. And so therefore, isn't exactly as accountable on his own, I suppose. He is accountable to the physician that he practices under. Nurse practitioner, they're 100% liable for what they do. And therefore,
So you want to be a PA because you don't want to be liable for what you do? Is that what I'm hearing?
that's what made it seem like what I'm saying, but no.
Because it sounds to me like you don't want to be liable and you let the poor nurse practitioner be liable. So what's the difference between a PA and a nurse then? Not a nurse practitioner.
The PA and the nurse is their scope of practice is larger. They use different.
Whose scope of practice is larger?
PA, physician assistant,
Okay.
are larger, and they use a different type of diagnosis model and plan. So a nurse they diagnose differently than a PA.
How do they diagnose different?
They do, and it's called the nursing model,
Okay,
and I'm not sure.
okay.
I need to do more homework on that.
Okay, so what's the difference, and by the way, I don't believe nurses diagnose at all. They don't do any diagnosing,
Okay.
okay? So if you're not sure what you're talking about, don't even go down that path. It's kind of like we tell our paramedic students, if you offer up a drug, you better know everything about the drug or don't offer to give it. Because that just makes it even, you're digging the hole even deeper. If you're not sure, you'd be better just to say, I'm not sure, as opposed to, you know. So what's the difference between a PA and a doctor?
Besides the number of school, how, obviously the doctor's scope of practice and understanding is much larger than a physician assistant.
So explain to me the scope of practice you keep talking about,
So what they're able to do.
okay?
Basically.
So what can a doctor do that a PA can't in the doctor's office?
In the doctor's office?
Uh-huh.
Well, I suppose that would depend on the doctor's office. I suppose if we're going into general, into like a generalized, they can do more extensive procedures, and just depending on what they're trained on, like colonoscopies, or for as one example.
So a PA can't do a colonoscopy?
They could if they were trained, I suppose, but in general, no.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Before I say all that.
Okay.
That's all I know, though.
Okay, you probably need to study that up a little bit. If I worked for a doctor, I could do a colonoscopy, whether I was trained or not. I don't know if it could break your guy's heart, but that's how it works. In the doctor's office, I could do brain surgery in the doctor's office. I could come off the street on Monday, and Monday afternoon, I could be doing stitching, suturing on you. And if the doctor tells me it's okay, I can do it.
As a PA.
As anybody.
Oh.
No, I said I could just walk off the street.
You too, okay.
Anyone could.
Are you sure that's right?
I'm positive that's right.
But is, and it's, okay.
No, you shake your head all you want.
Well, I went to a Dr. Evans, he's a gastroenterologist in Idaho Falls, and he said that he had to push the medicine in, but his nurse couldn't do it because of the legal ramifications of that.
She may be a nurse, but you get a medical assistant, most medical assistants that use in doctor's offices aren't trained. They just come in and work
Well,
on their
yeah,
doctor's license.
okay, but not any brain surgery, I don't think you can walk in and do it. Oh, the doctor said you can do it, you can do it. I think that's true.
Well, we'll have that debate later on.
Right.
I think what you're gonna find out is that I'm gonna win the debate. But you keep in that fantasy that you're working on. Now, legally or morally and ethically,
Okay, there you go.
you're exactly correct.
Well, yeah, then,
Legally, you'd be stunned what happens in a doctor's office under his license. You make some assumption that everybody in that office is trained.
no, I know that's not true.
Yeah,
But there's a certain level of, but I guess it depends if you're
Not every doctor
ethnic
do
people or
it.
not.
no, not every doctor would be willing to do it, okay?
Yeah, okay.
The difference between nurses and PAs, what I think you guys will need to understand as we're talking about, I don't know that I'm looking so much what they do is how they interact together. A doctor could be the primary caregiver. I would work under the doctor's license to go ahead and extend medical care out to all patients. A nurse would help us assist in that, where I may be able to ask the nurse to do some of the procedures. They maybe do some of the setups, some of the history taking. I might do the diagnosing. A medical nurse practitioner is one who has similar training but tends to work more independently and can legally work independently in that direction, okay? So again, it's going back to how all the different groups work together, you know, and more of each person's role and how they fit and make it a complete care package from the time the patient enters the clinic to the time the patient leaves the clinic. And that continuum of care, each one of us have a different role in that continuum of care. And that I fill a certain role, the nurse fills a certain role, the receptionist at the front desk serves a certain role. All right? Okay, so Tyler, tell me about your clinical experience.
My clinical experience has been in a general practice, and more or less as an office assistant.
Okay, so tell me about some of your duties you did.
What I do is I greet patients,
Okay?
record their vital signs, height, weight, blood pressure, heartbeat, oxygen saturation. And then I would get a general idea of why they were visiting us in the clinic.
Okay?
And maybe ask a few more questions depending if it wasn't clear on what they were saying. And then I turn that information over to the physician assistant or the physician.
So, how or why are this particular experience, how is this gonna help you become a better PA?
Well, as opposed to not having the experience, I get to see how the team works and every individual and what they do. And also what I would do is I'd go in and I would see what nurses would do, the kind of procedures they would perform, and their role in the teamwork, and I'd see what the physicians did exactly based off of how I checked them in or whatnot. It just helped me see how that team all works together in the proper priority and pecking order, if you will.
Okay? So good, so I like that team concept, you understood that team concept. One of the other things that we do clinicals for, literally, is so that you can interact with patients. This patient interaction thing is amazing. I've seen students who will never say a word to a patient. No bedside manner, none whatsoever. And so, having the ability to work in the doctor's office has really given me the opportunity to really get to kind of work on my patient interaction skills, and that's been a fantastic blessing for me. I've really gotten comfortable of dealing with young people to senior citizens. It's really been giving me that opener. I feel so much more comfortable, and also, boy, to be able to see how a team works and how that physician assistant then works within that team of delivering that continuum of care has really been one of the true benefits that I've had from being in that physician setting. So those are kind of the things that you're kind of wanting to get out of, okay? Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but you notice he's getting better? His interview is he's getting much better. We've asked 5 questions, okay? All right, so Tyler, how are you gonna pay for PA school? I want just a straight up cuff answer from you. How are you gonna pay for PA school?
I'm gonna have to take out a loan.
Okay? How many?
Initially.
Now initially, what do you mean initially?
Well, just to get me through the school, and then I'll have to pay that loan back.
Okay? How many hours a week do you plan on working while you're in PA school?
While I'm in PA school, outside of what I'm doing in school, 0.
Okay, so you're gonna plan just off living off loans, is that my understanding?
Yeah, and whatever little savings I have.
Okay? All right, that's actually good or bad answer.
Perfect answer.
Best answer you can give. You're gonna live off, you've either got the money saved or you're gonna borrow money. All right? Do not let them know that you need, I'll tell you, if you plan on working, you're not gonna survive in PA school. And not unless you're a rocket scientist. They're gonna wanna know that you're there to devote all your time to PA school, so the answer is, I've either A, got the money saved, or B, I'm gonna borrow the money. Okay? Now along with that, tell me about your support system at John's Most Wonderful PA School, which is about 1,800 miles from where you live at. Where's your home base?
Here, Rexburg.
You born and raised in Rexburg?
Sure.
Okay, so we're back in Connecticut, this school.
Okay.
Okay? So tell me about your support system.
When you say support system, you mean like my family,
Your support, what's your support system?
It's good.
Because if I say what's your family or friends, then that tells you that I'm expecting you have to have family and friends, and that's not my business. Okay, so tell me about your support system.
I think they're good. I'm biased, obviously.
Okay.
However, it's pretty strong. They support me in decisions that I'm making. And I really, coming to PA school is a large part of me supporting them as well. And I don't want to give you any more than that.
Okay. You said family and friends, right? trying to think, you told me you were married with a kid, and I'm just dying to ask you this, but I don't know if I can ask you this, but I think, well, so, Tyler, you told me your support system, so, I know that the school is 8 miles out of town, all right? And let's say that school starts at 8 o'clock and you get up at 7:30 and your car won't start.
Okay.
Tell me how your support system will be, and how's that support system gonna be able to help you with that?
My support system, in a situation like that, honestly, in Connecticut, well, I'm gonna make sure that I have functional transportation there. However, if it all
You know what,
fails,
the gates, it's failed,
if it all fails,
just failed.
my question in my mind is, how bad do you want it? And I'm gonna see how fast I can run 8 miles.
Okay? Well, you're not gonna run that 8 miles in 30 minutes. So, you guys, when we're talking about support systems, good answers are things like, you know, I've got my wife and my family, but also, you could be, say, you know what, I belong to a church congregation, we have a ward in our area, I've been to church, I've made acquaintances, I've actually found out that there's somebody else in our ward that goes to on campus too, and it looks like that between my ward and my family, I know my parents have let me know that if I need other extra help, that they're there for me even though we're a long ways away. So I feel like that, you know, with my wife has made some friends. I kind of, when we went to the schools, that was kind of what they implied to us, is they want to make sure that not only you, because they know you're out here by yourself. And so have you made some friends? Have your wife made some friends? They'll understand the religious thing. You don't know, you know, there's a good chance if you've come from BYU, they're gonna know your LDS. So, most of them said they actually like to hear that you've made acquaintances in your local congregation. You've made neighbors that you know. You've become, my wife has some friends. Because not only your support group, but then your wife is not there at home every day with the baby. You know, and so that's the kind of stuff they're after, okay? So that would be a good way to go that. Question, Sarah?
Are you gonna be going to these interviews like flying in though? Like, how are you gonna have the opportunity to have acquaintances if you're?
Well, you could do things like, you know, I've been out here, a lot of them will say, you know, I've been out here, I met some people in my ward, I've already contacted the ward, I talked to my bishop already. You know, a lot of people, as soon as they get into town, a lot of people hit town and call the bishop. That's like the first call they make, bishop, I'm in town, where would be a good place to stay? And so they've already begun to make some of those contacts. I would tell you too, if you go out there on that visit, you may wanna, I don't know that I'd get in town 20 minutes before my visit.
Sure.
You know, you wanna get there the night before, have a look around, I've had a chance to contact, so that you kind of understand, and if nothing else, I know that when I get there, I know that my ward, I can look to my church congregation, so they understand that you have a concept of, I don't know, I guess I just call it taxi or something, but you know how to reach out and get some other people, okay? Does that make sense? All right, so. How much time do you plan on studying? What was your study habits? How much time did you study at your last college a day?
Well, it's kind of a late revelation as to what I wanted to do. And before I knew what I wanted to do, it wasn't enough.
Okay, that may have been a wrong answer.
Oh,
Okay.
There's no right way for me to personally answer this one.
Okay.
Not enough.
Okay.
So the answer would be enough.
Okay. What do you think is too much during the day?
Too much.
Do you have any personal limits on, what do you think is too much studying during the day?
Too much study time during the day. You know, for me, it's, if I just lose the ability to concentrate and focus, then I probably need to mix it up a little bit.
Okay. How long does that usually take to lose the focus?
Anywhere for an hour to two.
Okay.
So I might have to break it up a couple times. But
Okay. So Saturdays. How much do you
Yeah.
think you got to spend on Saturdays?
To quantify it, I've never been in a physician assistant school, but imagine how tough it'd be. You know, I put in at least a work hour, so 8 hours a day.
Okay. Okay. With that question, I understand, you guys talk to people in PA school? Most PA students have a very regimented schedule. The married ones, generally, it starts about 7 o'clock in the morning. They go to school. Most of them will regiment an hour at lunch with their wives and family. They're back to campus, usually till about 4 in classes. Their studying starts at about 4:30 and goes to 10 or 10:30 that night. That process is followed Monday through Saturday, except for the class part. They regiment an hour to an hour and a half of time during the day for their family. Then usually they'll take the Sunday off. You guys, I'll tell you right now, and I've talked to other people in the paramedic program, if you've got a spouse that's not on board, and I'm trying to dig out from you, you know what, after 8 o'clock at night, my wife says it's time for me to spend time with the family. I'm trying to dig that out. If your wife thinks or your husband thinks that you come home at 5 in the afternoon, and at 6 o'clock you're done studying, it's time for the family, you need right now, you need to get out of this. Don't go to PA school. Just find another route to go. Your spouse must support you in this endeavor, or it is not going to work. And again, we saw, it's interesting, all the schools we've gone to, about half the schools, we found BYO students. And 2 or 3 of them were our paramedic students that we've had in the past. And every one of them are a very regimented schedule. And it's interesting, from school to school to school, they almost all have the same regimented schedule. And it's early in the morning, they all seem to see their family at lunch, because usually the kids are asleep when they get home at night at 10 o'clock at night. And it starts up the next day, okay? Okay, so, why do you want to attend my school?
Aside from the awesome title.
Besides from the awesome title. What is it prompted that made you want to attend this school?
I know the bad answer. I have the prerequisites. No, I like the location. Connecticut's a very good place.
Okay, good.
Aside from that, I don't know.
Okay, so, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but
I like the passing rates on the tests, on the final
Okay.
tests, whatever that is. Brother Klingler's survey. Everything. If anybody's done that.
So,
All those.
what other schools you apply to?
They're gonna ask.
I just asked you that.
Well, so far, just one in Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay.
Then your school right now.
Charleston, West Virginia, huh? I know why you've applied there.
Like that place too?
Yeah. What do you think I'm trying to get after on this question?
Did you research this?
Have you researched our school? Okay. Give me a place where somebody's from that's not somewhere on the East Coast. Who's from the East Coast? Give me a town
Medina,
that
Ohio.
I would recognize.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. All right? So if I come to Cleveland, Ohio, and you're from Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland may not be the neatest place on the planet, but it's your place, correct? If I get there and somebody comes to your house, do you want them to say, that's kind of a crappy house, it's kind of old, but I guess it's all right, I didn't have anywhere else to go. So how does that sound right at first? Not so good. When we go to that school, we want them to know that we've researched not only the school, but
Community.
the community and the area. You don't want to be going somewhere where you've got to live for a year that you hate. So they want to make sure that not only, we think you're a good fit for us, but can you fit within the school and the community? So if nothing else, that's where you want to start. Take an hour and go down to when you get to the motel. Every motel has a book about the community. Flip through the book and read learn, oh well, you know what? My wife really likes museums, and I see you have a children's museum, and she thinks that would be very exciting. You know, there are several churches that I like in the area. The climate is similar to what we like. Or, you know, we really like the school. I'm a little bit nervous about the climate, but I think I can live with snow for a year. You know, it's maybe something different. Find things that are interesting about their community and how you think that'll fit. Now, if you get to community and you just don't like the fit, I'm gonna tell you, don't go to that school, because it's a year of misery, because if you hate the town, right? So that's what they're looking for, is are you gonna have a fit within that town? Do you fit within the feel? You know, I like the small feel of your school. I got to your school, and I've come from a school that has 18,000 people in it, and I'm telling you, I got on your campus, and I saw that you have 1,400 students, and to me, what a breath of fresh air. The chance to be able to come and really get to know our student body and get to know our faculty. We have a beautiful camp, you've got a beautiful campus here, and boy, I'm looking forward to this. This really excites me. As opposed to, well, you know, last school I went to had 18,000 people. This little podunk school, 1,200 people, pfft, who cares about this, you know? So that's what they're after, is, do you understand, and can you fit within that place, okay? Oh, baby. So, what was the last job you held?
Last job that I held I was a waiter.
Okay, a waiter, where did you work at?
Worked at the restaurant, restaurant called Johnny Carino's.
Johnny Carino's, where in? What part?
In Ammon, Idaho.
In Ammon, Idaho. Who is the manager there?
Mike Fitzgerald.
Really? I know him.
Really?
Serious. So if I was to call Mike today, I says, Mike, I've got Tyler here with me. What would Mike say is your best attribute?
I think Mike would say that my best attribute in my relationship with him is my sense of humor.
Okay? Now, if I called Mike back up and said, what does Tyler need to work on more than anything? What would he say?
Probably be, well, let me think about that.
Now, you understand what I'm trying to ask, don't you?
Yeah, what am I not good at?
What are you good at and what are you crappy at? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's just cut to the chase. I want to hear, so tell me what would he tell me about you?
Well, see, I'm good at, let me start there again. I'm good at interacting with the guests that come into the restaurant and solving problems as they come up. I don't really require a ton of supervision, a ton of overhead help on solving problems.
Okay, good answer. I like that. Actually, I like that answer.
And what I would need help with is probably just, I don't know, stay sharp. Sometimes it gets a little slow in the restaurant and I lose my focus and I lose that, what I'm good at, so to speak.
Okay.
So just,
You actually, I don't know if you know that, but you actually alluded to that several questions ago. You said the same thing. Was studied, did you notice that? He said the same thing. So that's you know that's an area of concern for you. All right? Somewhere in your conversation, because is that true, is what I'm saying?
yeah.
Somewhere in your conversation, I like to be proactive in conversations and somehow bring up my weak points and how I'm trying to address them. I really do. I mean, that's what I like to do. But so for you, that's going to be an issue of how are you going to really on Friday night at 7 o'clock when your wife wants to go to Star Trek Into the Darkness and you got work to do, how are you going to stay home and not go to the movie? That's what, so that's an issue that you've said twice, all right? So good, okay. Tell me about, what have you done to help serve your community over the past several years? And you guys, you better have an answer for this, I'm here to tell you. If you don't, you better be getting it done. every school is big on this right here. PAs are all about service.
Okay. Aside from volunteer, I didn't mention it as part of who I am, but I'm really passionate about sports baseball, officer. I spend a lot of my time coaching people for free, and what I know what to do, which is baseball. And I've spent several seasons being assistant coach and head coach, and just giving my time and my passions in that way, help people get better at it.
Okay, what would be a better way to just say what he just said? You've given a pretty good answer, but it's been more like, I love this, and so I want others to love it like I do. What would be a better way, what you've just told me? You know, I have really been involved with youth athletics in the community. I've loved to coach. I love to give back to the community. And I've spent years coaching Little League. I hope have you coached Little League?
Yeah.
Pray tell. I coach Little League every season. I love it. It's something, I get out there and I can give back to the community, and I just find that I work with baseball, and then in the fall I do some football stuff. But it's just one way I love to give back to the community, because when I was younger, that's how I got started. Direct that back more to the community. Now, how many of you, you don't have to show them my hands, but how many of you are planning on popping off with your mission as your service? Because you know what, we got to AT Steel, oh, that came up. AT Steel University, and the kid says, and they asked the kid this question, what do you do for service? Well, I spent and she goes, let me guess, 2 years on an LES mission, right? Got that. We'll give you 5 months credit. What else did you do? And that was that quick. Just like that. He's like, well, she says, I didn't ask you what you did for proselyting. What did you do for community service? She says, we know that you Mormon missionaries do community service, so that's why we give you about 6 months worth of service. Okay, I was really taken back at how, and they weren't the two girls weren't LDS. But guess what everybody puts on there for service? Their mission, okay?
I was gonna say, they're kind of being students right now. What about, like, if more of our service is directed to, like, campus?
Fine. All of you need if you're serious about going to PA school, every semester, what they told us was, they look for not one big burst. And you guys, I'm not trying to mock the mission in any way, shape, or form, but I don't want you to get caught up like that kid AT Steele did. He was so proud till he opened his mouth. And they were just waiting for him. It's almost like they baited him for the question. What everybody has told us is they want to see a continuum flow. Not just, I hit it hard for one semester. I've done Little League for years. Find something you can do each semester. Is there a service club on campus where once a semester you can go out and rake little old ladies' leaves, and you belong to that service, belong to that, and once a semester, go out and do a project. So you can show that every semester I was involved with community and giving back. That's huge to the PAs. Because if not, you're gonna be scrambling, and they'll know you're scrambling. All right?
If you were a temple worker, how would you use that, and how would you mold that?
You guys, the problem with temple workers, again, remember, this is service, not proselyting.
Okay.
So when I got to AT Steel, and the lady talked about, in their mind, it was a clear distinction. Temple work is good, and you can try that, but they see that as going to church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get an LDS person in talking to you, how else are they to view that? And so that's why they did the mission thing. So again, even if it's once a month, once a semester, a service club, do something.
So should you just not mention that stuff?
No,
Like, let's say you do the service, but you do have a mission as well, so should you emphasize
Yes,
the other
yes,
stuff
yes,
first?
you can do that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is they want to
Yeah.
see it blended together. They don't just want to see
Yeah.
a chunk of a mission. And you're trying to use that as all your service, because you know what? They know it wasn't service. unless it was a service mission where you actually didn't proselyte. But our missions are proselyte missions for young men and women. All right?
What about Eagle projects?
Again,
Not too long
that's
ago.
good, but it's a one-time project. They want to see a continuum that you understand giving back to the community is a long-term process, not, I did it for an Eagle project, I did it for a mission. Because if you did do an Eagle project, would you have done the service? No. Does that, so what they want to know is, well, you're a good scout, then what's your good deed you've done since your mission, since your Eagle project? What good deed have you done since then? That's what they want to know, okay? Does that make sense?
Just gonna make a little pitch. Co-founder of a group called the Idaho AED Initiative. We're trying to spread education and awareness about AEDs and CPR in eastern Idaho. And if you have any interest in being a part of that, myself and Matt Haugen, who started the program, would love for anybody in here to join us with that. We've got a lot of ideas, but need more
Yep.
people who are interested.
That's what they're after, stuff like that. Okay, now these guys started, and I know why they started it. And that's okay, in the back of it, that's what you're after, but that's okay. It
That's
does-
definitely a big motivator.
Yeah, it was a huge motive, but you know what, it's a great service project, and it's something that it will go on semester after semester. That's what PA schools want to see. Okay, the last couple of questions. Where'd you like to practice when you're done?
Away from home.
Okay?
My wife and I from Idaho Falls and both our families from there. I'd like to be away from there.
Okay, good. Last question, this is, if anybody you go to Solace, you're gonna get this question. Just so you know, for an interview. Give me one word that best describes yourself.
Awesome.
Probably not, I guess you could use that word. That's in your opinion.
That's right.
So, how many of you can think of one word? My word is loyal. If somebody asked me to describe one word to describe yourself, that would be the word I'd use.
Yeah.
So, what word would you describe?
Stalwart.
That's a better word, all right? That's a character word. So, you guys, I hope that some of this has given you a little bit of reflection. And Tyler, let me tell you, you did far better, again, at the end than you did at the first. But a couple things we learned. What have you learned about interviewing, first of all? Do you go to an interview blind? No. Study. Know what a PA is, know what a doctor is, know what a nurse is, know what a nurse practitioner is. What things can PAs study? Well, what can they do? It's general practitioner, OB, ER, surgical. Know that stuff. Because if you don't know that, then why are you even wanting to be what you don't know what it is? That's why they want you to shadow a PA. Almost no matter what you do for hours, they still want you to put in 25, 30 hours with a PA, right? How can you ask to be a PA if you got no clue what PAs do? They want to know that you understand what it is and how you fit in to the scheme of things. Don't give answers like, it's the teacher's fault. I want to make the money. I couldn't get into medical school. I couldn't decide. So I chose you and I chose you. They want to know that you've studied out the profession, you followed a PA, and that this is what you're passionate about doing this. You're eager to learn, that you're teachable. Another good word, what would word for you? Teachable. It's a great word to use. That says a lot, all right? Know that profession. Study the towns you're going to. Understand, have good things to say about them. Don't get there. You know, I've lived in Rexburg all my life, and it just irritates me when college students smack talk Rexburg. Ugh, stupid town. I'm like, really? Really? This is my town. I happen to like it. I've been to your town, and I thought we had to burn it down. Okay? You know? And the other word I hate the word in the world is the word, if I have to hear somebody say, we live in the One more time, I'm gonna drop somebody. All right, I hate that word bubble. So again, in closing, you know all the things you need to do. There's nothing special about you sitting across that desk because everybody else sitting across the desk has done the same thing to get there just like you have. Transcripts and all that stuff, for them to be there, that's why they're there. All right, so this is your time to make them want to have you attend. And I look for, as I'm interviewing with Tyler, I'm sitting there trying to say in my mind, is this somebody I'd want to have at my school? Do I want this kid in my class for the next 9 months? Is he weird? Is he odd? Does he have an attitude? I'm trying to filter all that out. Filtering that stuff out. Now, there are some concerns that I've got with Tyler after the interview. A couple things, and I don't know where you are in your schooling. I don't know if you're about done or you're about done or you're done.
Not done.
Now, I'm not to pick on Tyler, but I will because he was here. I'm a little bit concerned that Tyler wants to go to PA school. He really doesn't know even what it is yet. That makes me concerned. I have a big concern about that. As we interviewed, that would be a huge red flag to me because I don't know that he's really, I'm not quite sure, even though why he said he wants to be here. The other thing is I'm a little bit concerned about his commitment to actually do studying. So with him, I've had 2 red flags that's popped up in my mind. And I've drawn them out through, and I didn't know you from Adam. And I've drawn those out from this interview. And that's what they're trying to do to you. And so that could be enough for me to go, you know, I thank you, Tyler. And I'd say, you know, I think we'll probably hold on Tyler. Let's see what else is out there. Tyler would not be my first grab. Right now, after some studying, could you change that? You can change that interview with some study practices. But for Tyler to go interview next month, he'll be in a little bit of problem when he goes to interview. But now he knows what to fix and try to work on some of that.
What do you recommend for attire? Like business casual
Okay.
or more professional?
You dress, Brother Cleaner's dressed correctly. Okay? I would go upper business casual. Don't you think?
Yeah.
In fact, I tell you, well, I say dress correctly, you're probably dressed more correctly than he is. Only because you have dress slacks on, and you guys, if you've got a jacket, throw a jacket on. Do not go in Levi's. You dress, you're talking to people that all have masters and above PhDs, you dress respectful. Clean haircut, no big dangling earrings, easy on the jewelry, easy on the makeup.
Easy on the perfume.
Yep, don't go in there just, all right, literally, you guys, because when you walk in the door, from when you walk to the door, and I've interviewed hundreds of people, and I've hired a ton of people in my career as an administrator. My interview started when they turned the corner. If I saw them walking in there and they were dressed to the nines, you know, some gals will dress up in the high heels and all the fancy schmancy stuff, that I'm like, I don't know about this already. I'm a little bit concerned already. Or if they come in kind of sloppy. You know, if somebody comes in to work, even for me, like if somebody comes in and they're wearing, like men are wearing, like those really super long square shoe toes that are about that long as shoes. You know what I mean? I don't know what you call them, but because it's super fashionable right now, that would throw a huge sign to me. I'm like, okay, so that, I look for all of that stuff. You want to play middle of the road conservative as you walk in there. Once you get approved and get the seat, then you can dress how you want. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? You remember who you're interviewing. I'm going to have to do the press, and I don't have to, you know, it's all about, you know, expect your rights and that. I don't care about your rights. You know, as you walk in the door, it's all about pleasing me. So don't dress to please you, you dress to please me, and most of the people you're interviewing with are my age.
Everything you said is right on.
That's just how it is. There's a hand.
I've heard a lot of PA schools are looking for students who want to go into general practice. What if that's not really, what if we're going more surgical side or specialized in PA?
My first thought to that is, have I researched that school? And if that's the case, tell them up front. Because if that's gonna make you a bad fit, you don't want that fit. Let them know that you're interested in this extra additional time, and how do they feel about that? Because they may say, you know what, that's really not our thing. That may include, if you're just dead set on that, you've probably picked the wrong school. And that's a good time to find out. 3 months into your program is not the time to find out that this was the wrong school to go to. So that would be a good, going back to that marriage, they've got to like you, you've got to like them.
And there's nothing wrong with being a little bit guarded. Of course, you want to answer the question, but you don't have to put all your cards on the table. You can say something like, I look forward to learning all aspects of medicine, and during my rotational year, I look forward to determining what aspect of medicine I'd like to practice. If you want to do pediatric surgery, you don't have to answer, I want to do pediatric surgery. So maybe turn that question back as to, you look forward to learning more, this is kind of what you like to do, maybe surgery, but I look forward to learning all aspects of medicine, and I'll choose which one
And if they accept you to that school, get accepted, pay the money, and keep going to other schools to keep interviewing. You guys understand that, don't you? You get accepted to one school, you pay the acceptance fee, and you keep interviewing. And you get the interview to the second one and get accepted, you pay that $500. And then you go to another until you find the one you want. Now, it costs you a couple $1,000s, but in the long run, there could be people who could be accepted to 5 different schools, and they're still applying to schools. Because they've not found the exact fit, but they're guaranteed they're going to school. That's why so many people, it's always in flux. Because people are just coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. Until I'm guaranteed, but that's not where I want to, but I know I'm gonna go for sure. So here's my money, because that's my seat, I may or may not want it, but I'm gonna reserve it for me. Until you find the one that fits you. And then, again, if you hate the cold, bitterly hate the cold, don't apply to schools that snow all winter long. Because you'll spend all winter hating the winter and not getting into school done. Any other questions, you guys or gals?
Ready?
Okay, just remember, this is something you have to keep practicing at. You get good at it the more you do it. All right? You know where my office is, stop by if you need some help. Anything else, Brother Klinger?
Can I put a plug in for Brother Lewis? Brother Lewis has probably been to maybe 10 or 15 of these PA programs. He's talked to the admissions directors, he's been talking to program directors. He knows his stuff, so use him. Go by his office. I've been on many of those same visits that he's been on, if I can be of help. Don't walk into these things flat-footed, they'll sniff it out. And you're competing against other people who are not flat-footed. I mean, they go in there prepared, they'll blow you out of the water if you're not careful. So use guys like Brother Lewis, and we'll do well.
The last thing to tell you in closing, remember, you're here at BYU, if this is the only school you've gone to, as universities go, we're kind of I don't use the word freak of nature, but this is not what university school is like. This brother-sister concept. And sometimes we think that when we get out there, everybody else is going to get the break. Well, Brother Lewis, you need to understand. They don't understand, nor do they care. They've got so many people they've got to run through, and they've got to go through a whole bunch of people. And it's kind of different out there. As we go to these other schools, there's a different feel that other campuses are on here, so you've got to kind of be prepared for that a little bit. Not that they're mean, but it's far more professional. It's more of the professional business world. It really is, and you've got to, and we don't have that. That's not here. We just don't see that here, but it is out there. So you've got to gear yourself up when you go to interview. That's what it's like.
All right.
Remember, I expect a 10% discount when you get your practices.